The evening is supposed to be a calming and relaxing part of your day. But for many young parents, it's far from that. And just in the middle of the night, your little preschooler or little one climbs onto your bed and refuses to go back to their own bed. And you've tried everything. You bribed, you've talked. It's getting frustrating. So today's episode, we will answer the question, how can I help my child sleep in their own bed? Okay, so let's go back to Clark's childhood.
Oh, I remember this one. I'm Sarah Sprinkel. I'm so glad you all tuned in today because Marnie and I love to let you all know the little bit we've learned from being parents. Okay, I can remember when my little child would come in, I think he was 3, and he would bring his pillow and his blanket, and he would lay down on the hard wooden floor right by our bed because I told him he couldn't get in our bed, and our bed was really high, so he couldn't even climb up. But he would lay his pillow and his blanket right by the floor. And sometimes my husband would say, Sarah, I almost stepped on him again. What's he doing? And I wasn't sure that I was doing the right thing because I said, well, if he needs to get up in the middle of the night and come in here and lay down, then let him. Because it couldn't be comfortable, right? But then I thought, this is not good. I must be doing something wrong. Don't we all do that as parents? Think about what we're doing something wrong. And I thought, I've got to come up with some idea of how to help him stay in his bed.
Oh, what did you do?
Well, we played a game. And so I made this great big chart and I put every day of the week on there. And I said, now, Clark, if you stay in your bed all night, we'll put a big X on that day. And at the end of these 14 days, 2 weeks, only 2 weeks, we'll go to the toy store and I'll buy you any toy you want.
Oh, wow. Did that work?
Oh, it did work. It worked great. It was perfect. He stayed in his bed every night. We made the big X the next morning. He was very pleased with himself. We went to the toy store. He used to love Transformers. He bought a Transformer. It was great until the next night, the night after he had gotten the toy. He got right up in the middle of the night, came in with his pillow and blanket, and laid on the floor.
Oh, they're smart.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. I said, hey, what's happened? You were staying in your bed. Guess what he said?
What?
Hey, Mom, let's play that game again. You know that game where I stay in my bed and you buy me any toy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you created the reward system.
Yeah, the system that worked for him.
Yeah. But how did you undo that?
Well, because I figured out who was behavior modifying who here, okay? I finally said, let's see if we can change the game a little bit. Let's celebrate what he's doing that we want to see more of.
Yes.
But let's don't promise a toy at the end of it.
I think that is a great advice to start with. But I think we have to go back and understand what are the real reasons that children actually that children start coming to the bed. And some of them might be separation anxiety. They might be even afraid of the dark. Or, I mean, thanks to that movie, the monsters, now all the kids are afraid of the closet.
Yeah.
Or maybe even stresses like getting a new sibling, or just a school, something happening at school. I remember when my son was, when my daughter was born, my son regressed, and all of a sudden he was doing good, going sleeping in his own bed, and all of a sudden, I mean, he was the first one. So there are a lot of changes. So understanding that is the beginning of that. So let's start by understanding how much sleep does a child need to have every night?
See, that was the key. With my little one, we finally figured it out. It was just he wanted to check and make sure we were still there. That's all it was. It was not any deep, dark problem. It was just checking. But I also had to look at how much sleep is he getting? Is he taking a nap? He doesn't need a nap anymore. He's trying to get out of that. So a child's going to need at least a good 10 to 12 hours straight at nighttime.
10 to 12 hours. And how many hours of nap time?
Well, depending on that, then another couple of hours. They grow when they're asleep. They need to be asleep. They need that their body needs it. So you've got to make sure they're getting their rest. So look at your whole day and look at their schedule because some kids are getting a longer nap than others, and they go to sleep and they sleep harder than other kids. And so you have to look at their entire day and make sure that I always made sure that when they put them to bed, they were ready to go to bed.
Yes.
And so we got a routine going that said, it's time to go to sleep.
Okay, I love that. So the first strategy is having that set routine
Yes.
every night.
Every night.
And how would that look like for a young parent? What do you suggest?
Well, I suggest that you almost make a picture of it, and you can put a picture of your whole day up and say, here's your playtime. Let's say they eat at 5 or 6 at night. They also want to eat earlier than we do sometimes and need to eat earlier than we do. So you put that in there, and then it's really great if you can have the quiet time for at least a full hour before they go down to sleep. A full hour of quiet time. That's no screen time. That's when you want to climb in the bed and read books to them. Read, and read some more to them. So you want to plan. First of all, we took a hot bath at night. So they would take their bath and they would relax. Their routine of brushing their teeth. All of that I put a picture up.
Yeah.
So instead of putting an X on the day, we put pictures of what
the
came
sequence,
next.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because children are very visual. That's something you see in a lot of early learning settings, is like the sequence of what happens throughout the day. And parents that follow that have reported very positive behavior modifications. So just continuing that we start in school, that the children know when is circle time, when do we go to nap, when do we change the diaper, like having that set up time for everything as part of the nightly routine is very important because it creates those habits
Absolutely.
that we still have, some of us, until this day, right?
And you can always look at what you can control. For instance, I have my favorite nightgown. And I like to sleep and sleep easily in my favorite nightgown. And so maybe they're pajamas. Maybe they don't like those long sleeves, whatever it might be. Look at the temperature in the room.
Yes.
Is it cool enough for them or is it too hot? Look at those kinds of things. Do they have a blankie? That's what we used to call them. A blanket or something they go to sleep with.
Oh, a blanket. A lot of kids are very attached to a blanket. I mean, we see that a lot in early learning settings, that the parents come with a blanket and it's a whole drama if we don't find the blanket. What's the big deal about the blanket? Is that a good strategy?
Absolutely, because children are looking for security. I remember one time we took a trip and my son had a little blanket that was white, and we were in this great big hotel. There was, I don't know, 12 or 13 stories in this hotel. And for some reason, they picked up his blanket along with all the sheets. And so I went to the housekeeping place and said, hey, y'all, the blanket got picked up. Can I get it? They said, well, you'll get it tomorrow because they're all the laundries together. I said, well, let me just go look. And they, I'm sure, just looked at each other like, we'll show this lady. I go out and I can remember opening the door to the laundry and all I saw was white. And I said, tomorrow will work just fine.
Yes. Poor Clark.
He learned to sleep without the blankie that night.
That's how they learn. But there's some kids that actually have night terrors. So what do you do with the kids that have that? How can you deal with that?
Well, I'm luckily I've never had to deal with that, but I do know that when you have that, children are looking for more security, so they need more security. So it's great to be able to hold your child and pat your child and maybe even rub their head and say, "Hey, just talk to them." They need to be soothed sometimes, even in the middle of the night.
Wow. So going back to your story, did you ever find out what was causing that behavior?
No, just reassurance. Just reassurance.
Yeah, so your son needed
just
separation?
Reassurance. Yeah, that's all it is. And you know what? We all need that. We all need reassurance. And it's not wrong. It's right. It's good. It's what we should be doing as parents constantly and as grandparents, reassuring our children that they are loved, they are cared for, and we are there for them.
Absolutely. So let's go over some of the strategies to help your child go to bed, including limit the screen time
Mhm.
before bed. And we'll talk a lot about this in this show, depending on the age group, how much screen time your child should have. But definitely do not expose your child to screen time before bed because that will make it hard. Dressing appropriately and having a regular wake up time.
Oh, yes, because the routine includes when they get up in the morning.
Mhm.
Absolutely, because if you let them oversleep, even though you do remember there were some mornings when you were laying in bed thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could sleep just an extra hour? No, because they need to get up and
They
have
will
their
get up.
routine
Yeah.
going. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. So, I think this is great, a great advice. I think in conclusion, understanding the reasons that causes that behavior is the most important thing,
Right.
and then implementing the strategies depending on what's causing your child to go, making sure that the room temper is good, having a set routine for bedtime, and really talking to your child about it. That's one of the most important things. And what
Uh,
about you is the conclusion of
well,
this episode?
and avoid any treats or special food that might get them excited at nighttime. I can remember reading stories about people who would drink hot chocolate. No, no, let's don't have any hot chocolate right before bed because they want to be able to stay in bed and things like that. So, use those special blankets. You might even, when you travel, that was always the worst time because we would have to put our child in the car and let him drive around and make him fall asleep. All of us have gone through that. So just continue to provide the kind of support every child needs. And we as parents need it too.
Mhm. Well, definitely the early years are the ones where the bonds and the connections are made, and nurturing that beautiful relationship, making sure that your child feels that trust and that caring, that connection is the most important thing for the early years to raise emotionally intelligent and future ready children. So if you like this episode, subscribe and like to Raising Innovators.